Holy mackerel, the 49ers fan base has a lot to be hyped about right now as we hit the official NFL offseason. The 49ers have two really big things that I want to tell you about in this video that I think should have us feeling uplifted and good spirits. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. I'm Nate, and I'm making daily 49ers content on this channel, so make sure you subscribe if that's what you're looking for. But I'm here in Florida on some family vacation, and I'm being eaten by bugs. It's hot, even though it's the middle of the winter. There are literally alligators in this water. I've seen a bunch of them, and they're not that big, so I'm not terrified of them, but I have my back to the water. This seems like a bad idea, but whatever the case, the two things, let's start with the first one, starting with, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely destroying the Kansas City Chiefs and what that means for 49ers fans. Of course, there's a negative side of that the NFC got stronger, per se, if you will, and there's a downside to the reality that if the Eagles, let's say, continue to be a powerhouse moving forward or whatever, now have confidence, maybe there are some knock-on negative effects of that. I'm not worried about that, to be honest with you. That would not be a negative side effect for me. What I think is more important is the positive reality that the 49ers have in terms of a roadmap. And the 49ers have as good of a situation as we possibly could from a coaching perspective on the defensive side of the ball. And now, hopefully, they've learned something from watching the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl absolutely run havoc against that Kansas City offense. And that Vic Fangio defense, right about now, you're seeing why it's so important that we go out there and take a guy like Nick Sorensen out of the helm and put in a guy with some actual defensive coordinator experience. Obviously, Vic Fangio played or coaching for the 49ers as a defensive coordinator in the past. And so, happy for him and his victory, Super Bowl victory. But the point is, and the main one, and I'll get to number two in just a second, so don't go anywhere, but the point one that I'm kind of pumped on is hopefully everybody sees, with a defensive line heavy draft in front of us, the value of having a super strong, tough defensive line and value in the trenches. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles trenches, both sides of the ball, were outstanding last night, so that had a huge impact. The second thing that I wanted to get to, I think it's really important for the 49ers to see, fan base to see it this way, in my opinion, is that this Deebo requesting a trade situation is actually a really good thing for the 49ers offense. They needed a shakeup this season. It felt like they needed a shakeup. And yes, you do have Ricky Pearsall, and hopefully we get something good out of Jacob Cowing, because I really believe the world in what he can be. But he hasn't had a chance to really prove it. We saw a little bit in preseason that made me think, dude, this kid is going to be incredible. So I'm super hopeful for Jacob Cowing. But I think this Deebo leaving thing is the shakeup the 49ers need on offense. You need somebody else in there to really shake things up, change things up from an offensive point of view. I don't want to see just draft guys in there filling that void. Although I do feel really high on Ricky Pearsall, I would like to see the 49ers go after somebody else who can give you a little bit more X factor, because I think between Christian McCaffrey and his injuries last season, I still believe he's going to have a great season this year. I just think things are going to work out really well for him, having not really been able to play a whole lot of football this season. But you can't really rely on him being your number one guy, because he's also your bell cow, and he's the guy that Kyle Shanahan's going to want to give the ball to every single second that he can. So you do need to go out there and you need to go find somebody else who can give you something different. I think that's a good situation for the 49ers. I think that's a positive perspective. Let me know how you feel about the Deebo trade thing. I really believe he still has miles left on the tires, and a lot of you felt differently. That's okay. That's what makes sports so fun, that we can disagree about stuff and talk about it. But I feel like he has miles left on the tires, but what we saw this season is most definitely not what we want to see in the future. So can he offer more to another team? I do believe so, and I think Deebo would be right to believe that. I don't think it looks like what we saw this season. I don't think it's handing him the ball in the backfield multiple times a game. That just did not work for him. And whatever the reason is for that, him not being able to handle taking the ball in the backfield this season, maybe it's because it's too obvious, because without CMC out there, it was just so clear every time he lined up in the backfield what the 49ers were thinking and what they were going to do. But whatever the case is, I think that getting another X factor type of guy, which could come in a lot of different factors. It doesn't have to be, or a lot of different forms, excuse me. It doesn't have to be another Deebo. It doesn't have to be a guy who can run the ball. It doesn't have to be a guy like, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs really liked Xavier Worthy on some of those jet sweeps, things like that. It doesn't even have to be that kind of a guy. It just needs to be somebody that gives the 49ers offense something that is less predictable, something that makes it harder to know as a defense what exactly they're going to do at any given moment in time. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. I think the 49ers have a lot of big offseason movement to track this season, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on it. I'm going to get away from this water and stop turning my back to these alligators and get back to the family. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing to this channel, and I hope you guys have a fantastic one.